Make sure you signed in, got an agenda. Yeah, I think there's another paper you're giving
There
me.
is, yes. I'm gonna give you your standards.
So, first thing is just kind of new for us, the math PLCs. It is driven by the Numeracy Act. It is required, so this will be it will be good, but it's something we're gonna start doing more and more often, actually twice a month. So, Ms. Hills worked hard to get it all prepared, the snacks, the handouts, the little PowerPoint. Today's just gonna be kind of introductory, talk about tiered instruction, what it should look like for math, because it should look different than what your reading is. But before that, we're gonna go over our parameters. Be on time and respect others' time. Come prepared. Focus on growth and improvement. Everyone in the building is in the work. Everyone participates. Value relationships over being right, and celebrate the work and each other. So the first two have been really good, and we expect nothing less. We know y'all will do the same. And then Ms. Jordan Hill's gonna take over with the 2 mathematical teaching practices.
Yeah. So right before we get there, we're gonna just kind of talk about what our purpose for the meeting
Go
is.
ahead.
So first things first, is we're gonna select 2 mathematical teaching practices. That's gonna be our area of focus for the entire school. So y'all will vote, and then we'll compile all the data from the school and select 2 that we're gonna just focus for the entire year on. We're gonna take a deep dive into tiered instruction for math, and then what does the documentation for intervention look like, and then we're going to select a task for our second graders that y'all are gonna give out, and then you're gonna bring it to our next PLC and we'll sort, and we'll talk more about that at the end. So here are the 8 mathematical teaching practices. We have established mathematical goals to focus learning, implement tasks that promote reasoning and problem solving, use and connect mathematical representations, facilitate meaningful mathematical discourse, pose purposeful questions, build procedural fluency for conceptual understanding, support productive struggle, and then elicit and use evidence of student thinking. So I sent an email, I don't know if it was like last week, and it had a lot of these that kind of tells like what the teacher's doing and what the students are doing. So we're gonna go ahead and just vote on 2. There's no right or wrong. So like I said, we're just gonna compile all the data and figure out the 2 that we're gonna focus on as a school. So here are QR codes if you want to go ahead and scan it, and it'll take you to make your selection. Can you see what other people have chosen, or like a?
It pops up at the
Okay.
end, the percentage.
Gotcha. I wondered if it did.
It shows it
See
in
it change.
real time.
Yeah. Ah, cool.
That's neat.
I tried to put my own picture, but you had to have like or Premiere, I don't know, some kind of account, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to pay for anything. So, okay. So now we're going to look at the components of a Tier 1 math block. So on your schedule, you have a 60-minute math block, and so here are some components that should be in your math block to make sure it's an effective time. So the first thing is number talks and a number sense routine. So you're going to integrate daily number sense routines into your math block to support your students to deepen their understanding of mathematical concepts. Now, number talks is a number sense routine, and they say 3 days a week is like the most beneficial. If you want to do 5 days a week, great. But 3 days a week, and then some other type of number sense routine, maybe the other 2 days. Which could be like which one doesn't belong, or splat math, or that 3-act math task, or there's like tons of different other choral counting around the room. Accounting collection could also be one, which that would kind of take up your entire math block if you did that. But those are all number 6 routines that you should incorporate. It doesn't have to be at the beginning. Some people choose it at the end, just whatever works best for you. You're pretty flexible with that. And then that goes into a collaborative problem solving. So I like to think of this on Envisions as that solve and share. So it's that first page, and it kind of just gives the student the power to just go for it. And so you're flipping the mindset from I do, we do, you do, into you do, and then we'll do some together, and then I do, to kind of like bring it all in and recap as a debrief. So collaborative problem solving can be that solve and share, or it can be another research-based, like evidence, research-based math problem of any sort. And then that takes you into like a teacher connects learning. So that can be your problem solving page in Envisions, the one that we typically like don't even look at because they're really rigorous and hard. So you have that solve and share, and then you have like independent, or I think it's like practice buddy or independent practice, and then that final page is called a problem solving page. Those are very rigorous tasks, but really beneficial for your students. Very higher order thinking questions. Those are things that y'all could probably kind of work together. Don't have to be the entire page. You can choose like, let's do problems 1 and 5. Like look at them and vet them. That's when your planning comes into place. But look at them, vet them, and then say we're just going to do 2 of these, and that can kind of be your formative assessment to guide your small group. And then 4, you have math workshops, which can include your small groups, your math games, your independent practice, or application problems. And then you're going to wrap up your Tier 1 math block with some type of formative assessment. Now that can look different. It doesn't always have to be a paper and pencil task. It could be like teacher observations. It could be something on their whiteboard where you're like noticing, I've got to pull them during Tier 2. Small group, if they're utilizing some type of paper in the small group, it can be from Envision, like a problem that you're looking at. Biggest thing here is you want to use this to drive your Tier 2 instruction. Any questions about these components? I feel like y'all all do these throughout your math block. I'll do a great job with that. Okay, so that brings us into Tier 2. That is a small group. So here's some questions you can ask yourself. Was there a misconception from your 60-minute math block? Are there students who aren't proficient with previous grade level skills that you've already taught? If so, these students will need Tier 2 instruction. All students receiving Tier 3 will also need to receive Tier 2. The use of manipulatives are a must for Tier 2, and then you will document that on your Tier 2 form. Just remember Tier 2 is grade level standards. You may have to dip into like prereqs to get them up to that standard. But it's whatever was missing in that Tier 1 block. And we don't want you to like go insane and like, I'm doing the exact same thing as I did in Tier 1 and Tier 2 and it's still not working. You're gonna need to bring out something different because they didn't quite understand it in Tier. We want them to be successful in Tier 1, so that's when Tier 2 is the most beneficial. Manipulatives is just like a must during that time. What can you find, or where can you find information on what skills students need? So you can look at your iReady, you can look at common assessments or exit tickets and teacher observations. What resources can you pull from? Proficiency scales, their AMSI, and I'll reshare that. I think I shared it at the beginning of the year. So it's always good to just reshare and just bookmark that on your drive. The Envision Black Box, the DIGS website, and then Math and Practice books. I have a set here. I'm hoping we can get you guys a set, but we'll talk more about that at our next PLC. It's basically a book that has all the standards and just great ideas and lessons, resources that you can pull from. It gives you like misconceptions and what you can do to help prevent those or bridge a gap between them. And then what is everybody else doing? They can be finishing any Tier 1 independent work. They can be doing math games, iReady Pathway, or any other math website. We're fortunate to have Reflex. I'm not sure if y'all have been able to get your students on there, but if you would like me to, I'd be happy to walk through that with you. And then, or a collaborative problem solving. So those are just some ideas of what they can be doing while you are pulling your Tier 2 intervention group. And OMI says tier 2 should meet 3 to 5 days a week. Definitely try your best to get a good solid 3 days in, and if you can get a 4th or 5th day, awesome, kudos to you, but we definitely need to get 3 days in. Any questions about tier 2? It says to look at the form, but I feel like we've looked at that form a lot, so we're just gonna skip on over that if y'all are okay with it. Okay, and then that brings us to tier 3. So this must be a research-based, state-approved program. Limestone County has elected to use Do the Math. I totally forgot that on y'all's master schedule, y'all don't have a separate tier 3 math block. So, you know, we're trying to integrate math tier 3 with reading tier 3. So Miss Brown had brought up a good idea. She was like, I'm always focused on reading for the kids that are in there during that time. So she's like, I wonder if like 2 days a week I could focus on math and 2 days I can focus on reading. I'm like, that's a great idea for the kids that are still like left in your classroom. So these are just a list of ideas of what you can do on those 2 days that you focus more on like the math portion for the babies that are still in your classroom. So like their pathway back games, any other math website. You can do extension projects for your above grade level babies because most of them are probably going to be still in your classroom. They're not pulled for other services, but like gifted, or I don't even know if that's started yet. No, they qualify, I guess, the second. Okay. And then just really a time to push those level 2 students to being proficient. So we're not going to dwell on this much, but we will have students that will be identified with the math plan. So kind of like SRIPs, we have SRIPs and we have MIPS. And so those students will be identified based off of their iReady diagnostic. So if they're red on iReady, or if they have a deficit on the fluency screener. And we will talk more about that at a later date as we gather more information about it. But okay, this is the fun part that I'm so looking forward to, and I hope that you'll see the benefit of it. So we are going to select a task that we're going to give to our students and then come back. I believe it's going to be October the 9th, but it's a kindergarten field trip and it could change. So we'll keep y'all posted on that. But right now it will be October 9th that you'll bring back a task. So I have selected 2 because I looked at your pacing and kind of saw that y'all are either in number lines already or going to start getting into number lines. So I'm going to give you these that y'all are going to kind of look through, and then collaboratively we're going to select one of the 2.
Don't write on them. She'll make copies and get back to you.
At the very bottom, you'll see it says like M34, M36. So we'll choose one together that you will give your students. Is there one that sticks out to you so far?
I like M36.
I like M36. You like
Yeah.
M? Okay.
Because it's very open-ended.
Okay.
Fill in box with a number that makes sense.
Okay.
That's very like, I don't know. I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
we do a lot of skip counting or
Yeah.
things that's like, what goes right here? Like on M34, you know, like,
Mhm.
where does it go?
Yes.
But this one that's just like a number that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So y'all agree? Y'all want to go with 36? Okay. I'm gonna write that down, and I'll make your copies for you, and then you will just give to your students before October 9th, and then we'll bring back those work samples and we'll sort based off of a rubric. I have started working on a rubric, and I'll share it with y'all after this, and we can kind of look at our standard, look at what we want to be proficient, and then make a rubric based off of that. So next, before we talk more about the rubric, we've got to come up with like parameters on how we're actually going to give this to our students. So do you think we should read like the directions, and then how can we give this to our students?
I think we read the directions just so it doesn't affect the reading students.
Okay,
There's people
perfect.
that struggle in reading, you don't want them to struggle in math.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And then is there like a portion of the directions that we really need to like make sure we draw attention to?
Show or explain how you know.
For sure, I think so too. Because they'll just write a number and then say, I'm finished.
Yeah.
So I agree. Just make sure that we prove it. Prove
Prove it.
that. Why'd you put
Yeah.
that there? Prove it. They've got to have some sort of work. And it's okay if they have like they wrote like I know this, or if they do a draw like just something.
Yeah.
And then that helps us be able to sort whether they're proficient or not. And then the 3s and 4s can get kind of hairy because you're like, what makes a 3 than a 4? When we look at the rubric and start planning that, we'll be able to nail down a definitive like 3 or 4. Well, good. I think that 36 or 36.
Yeah.
What do the 2 pick?
They picked 34. So we'll see.
Well, that's good. I like
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Difference.
I like it too. If you don't mind putting that little paper clip on there, and then I'll make y'all's copies and give them either by the end of the day or sometime tomorrow. And I'll share the rubric with you. It's kind of a draft right now. And then on October 9th, during our PLC, we'll look at it, we'll finalize the rubric, make any like necessary changes to it, and then we will start sorting. And then that will determine our next instructional steps for it. So like, here's the one that I've kind of started on. So we've got 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll just kind of put bullets on like what they did, if they've had any like teacher had to go back and like give them a little support, like just very similar to the common assessments, but we'll use our standards to kind of determine what's proficient and what's not. So y'all have your standards on. I did give y'all those, right? Okay. Because I think we got a little extra time. So let's look at let's look at MBT 10. I think it's on page 33. And then it says to fluently add and subtract within 100 using strategies based off place value, properties of operation, and or relationships between addition and subtraction. Is that what y'all are doing right now? Okay, I thought so. How is that going?
Rough.
Okay. Is there specific strategies that's making it rough, or just all?
We did place value blocks yesterday and physically broke apart tens to show we did subtraction. To show, okay, this is the 10 you're breaking apart. Now look at how many ones you have. We did all of it. Then we did, okay, let's put up our place value blocks. Let's get our whiteboards out and draw.
Mm-hmm.
And even the place value blocks, some of them got, some of them did not, and it didn't matter how explicit I got.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it just,
Okay. Are y'all seeing anything like that, or?
I'm kind of on the other end. My kids do not want to show. They're just answering them.
Okay.
But I'm like, okay, well, if the directions say you have to use a number line, you have to, use base 10 blocks. You have to do it. But then they're getting more confused. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Are they getting the correct answer?
Yeah.
They're just struggling with the
They're just not wanting to
showing
show
their. Okay. What about you, Ms. Dillich?
I would say I'm kind of in a place that's in the middle.
Okay.
Some students will solve and have no issues, and then the next day it's like when we're talking about like, oh, look at the digit 7 in the tens place. They're like, yeah, 7. I'm like, no, but like the value and like I don't know, like talking about the digit versus the value and like 7 tens is 70, like all of that is hairy. Like sometimes they'll be like, yeah, 4 tens is 40, or like I don't know, but like digit and value and all of that.
Well, that's amazing that you're using the vocabulary, because some people they don't. They're just saying, what's that 7? Like
Yeah.
what? So value and digit. That's great. They may have not heard that last year, and
That's
so
what
this
it
is the
means.
first time that they're like, okay, what's the digit? What's the value? So You're doing great. That's amazing that you're bringing those 2 words in.
And then 10 more and 10 less.
Okay.
They are like, what is that? 10 more, 10 less.
Yeah.
And I'm
Okay.
like, "Ugh."
Okay, what are some ways, like, are y'all doing that? How are you doing that?
So I have a lot of quick checks.
Okay.
Like, because I teach in 2 math groups,
Yes.
like for a whole group.
Okay,
And so, like, to avoid like wait time being wasted, when they come down, they do like a little 10 more, 10 less, 100 more, 100 less quick
Okay.
check. And then sometimes it's on the common assessments, right? Like
Mhm.
10 more, 10 less. And then I do math morning work, and sometimes it's on that.
okay,
And it's just like,
okay. Do they have any, like, manipulative or anything when they're doing that, or is it just, I know it's supposed to be mental
yeah,
by the end of the year, but, like, what are we doing to guide them to get there?
I don't give them manipulatives
Okay.
in those things just because it's like a quick check
Quick, yeah.
but I guess I don't know. What
Yeah.
would you recommend on that? Because it's supposed to be like that.
It should be
mental
mental,
thing.
yes, and the standard does say mentally, but we gotta remember too, the standards are for the end of the year.
Right.
And
But in the
so,
first grade, it's mental too, though.
it is with, it's,
10 more, 10 less.
Yeah.
Hours.
okay,
Like, they
Is that
should
how-
And it was like
mentally.
seconds
You're right.
at the end.
I have
like,
some
they should
yeah.
know it.
Sweet babies
Yeah.
on the rug that are going 108.
Yeah, it's
Count their
counting.
chin.
Yep, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, oh,
so it's
yeah.
not even like,
And-
okay,
Yeah, it-
Oh, baby.
yeah, no, I think you're right about the first grade.
I've never
I
seen
didn't- I
that.
didn't think about
Yeah.
that. Or they
It drives me
using-
crazy when I count. I'm like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
no, no.
Next instructional steps, for those students, so, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thanks,
Thank
ladies.
you. Good discussion.